Guys, how we doing? Back another video from Seth the Programmer, and I've been really excited for this one since he put it up on Twitter the other day that he was going to be doing this. There's going to be a boss. Could the Phantom Troupe take down Meruem? And I, personally, don't think they could. Going to give a little brief explanation as to why, because I don't like to go too... plus you guys are going to prove me wrong in the comment section anyway, like I always do. But in my head, the way it goes in my head when I'm trying to scale this is that the two strongest Zoldike members fought Crollo. And they were pretty much, even. So that's the two strongest versus Crollo, right? And they only stopped because then they were like, oh, well, the guy's paying us, we're done. And Crollo was, I feel like they were pretty much even. And then, when it comes to, and Crollo's the strongest, like, Hisoka is arguably one of the strongest people there. And then in the manga, they've had the fight, and then Crollo beat him. Spoilers. And then when it comes to Meruem, you have Netero, who was the only person that could actually square up against Meruem. Because I'm sure that when the Zoldike guys dropped him off to fight Meruem, there was a mention of how Netero was stronger than the old guy from... I'm terrible with names, but the oldest Zoldike member. So for Netero to be the only person to square up against Meruem, and the two Zoldike members only being on par with Crollo, who's the strongest member of the Phantom Troupe, and Netero still not being able to beat Meruem, makes me feel like that the Phantom Troupe can't beat Meruem. But let's... obviously, that's just my brief overview. I've not gone in depth and, like Seth's probably done in this video. So let's see what Seth has to say. And I'm sorry if I've just been an idiot like I usually do.
Hello everyone, it's your host, Seth the Programmer. Today I'm finally going to be talking about Hunter x Hunter on the channel. So we'll be taking the entire Phantom Troupe, and by entire I'm referring to an almost composite variant of it, including Crollo, Nobunaga, Phaeton, Machi, Finks, Franklin, Shizuku, Bonolenov, Hisoka, Shalnark, Pakunoda, Uvogin, and Kortopi, Kaloto, and even Illumi, Zoldyck included, as Illumi joins a little later on in the manga and pitting them against the king of the Chimera Ants, Meruem. Some people might think this is a mismatch.
Read that far
maybe
in,
you think Meruem absolutely obliterates
I feel like that's
maybe
it.
you think Hisoka alone is enough to put up a good fight against him. Regardless, I think it's very good for talking about inverse Hunter x Hunter scaling, as there's so much ground to cover and different things you have to acknowledge.
Yeah, the Nen system is an interesting one though as well, so there's probably going to be a lot of stuff that I've not thought about.
Work in the show. So, without further ado, let's begin.
Alright, I'm so looking forward to this.
First things first is the Hunter x Hunter Akatsuki or Espada,
the Phantom Troupe.
Now, unlike the Akatsuki and the Espada, which are actually established with specific combat goals in mind, such as being able to take down Jinchuriki with teamwork or potentially help Aizen fight Shinigami captains, the Spider has no real specified level of strength you have to be at to join.
No.
There are some things you have to do to join if you want to, though, and that's usually being selected by Crollo if there's a vacancy or defeating a member currently in it, so you could argue most of the people in the troupe are more than likely significant enough that Crollo trusts them with the very existence of the Spiders and to help him with his plans.
I need to get my girlfriend to watch this.
One thing you'll notice is that there is a huge gaps of strength between the members.
This
is pretty exaggerated in current Hunter x Hunter, and spoilers for anime-only viewers, when Hisoka starts killing troop members. Now, the Phantom Troupe does have a strength hierarchy, but they don't have a combat hierarchy. In terms of strength, the manga gives a list of those that win the most consistent.
Hisoka's high up there, man, because he starts hunting them down.
Obviously, characters like Uvogin, who can punch with the force of a small missile, as stated in Uvogin's manga description page, is considered the physically strongest as he's a master enhancer, whereas the others specialize in other things. But this doesn't mean there isn't a massive strength gap for those that aren't enhancers, such as Hisoka pretty much off-screening Kortopi so fast that nobody even heard them battle, and the implication that Hisoka killed Shalnark in possibly one attack or so, although it's argued
it is mad how Hisoka could do that,
or even Hisoka easily manhandling Machi with his bungee gum. This is better defined in the databooks as 3 combat stats: skill in combat, physical ability or athletic skill, and your overall Nen and Nen ability. So someone like Kortopi, who's a 3 out of 5 in all of these areas, gets absolutely flattened by a character like Hisoka, who is a 4 in all of these areas. There are exceptions, such as Kurapika and others who can amp themselves, such as the Scarlet Eyes and Emperor Time Absolute Mastery. There's also usually debate over the credibility over the...
His Nen stuff as well is like very limited to just being on members of the
even the
Phantom
criticisms
Troupe.
people have is usually only for one of them. However, when it comes to actual character abilities and its scalings, there isn't much contradiction in them, as it's very vague with the most contentious points and characters, and most of the characters are outlined more specifically in the series. I promise I won't be using it as my only evidence throughout the video, but mainly as a supporting point.
Right.
A lot of people also usually have a problem when you say that Hunter x Hunter has distinct power scaling, and like to heed the advice of Morel in this case, in which Morel doesn't believe aura level determines a fight, which it doesn't inherently have to. Morel is a great example of using your 300 big brain fight IQ to win a battle in the series, but as Killua later challenges, if you have so much aura that it makes your opponents look like it doesn't exist in comparison, it does definitely put the battle in your favor. This is obviously outlined with the Royal Ants and the Chimera Ant arc in general, but we'll go over more about them later during the Meruem segment. But it's also pretty self-evident throughout the series. I mean, take a human who does have aura versus one who doesn't. You can see why Morel's logic, while not inherently wrong, is questioned by Killua and doesn't ease his anxiety about Neferpito. This is also debunked when Gon fights two Chimera Ant officers, and despite them using amazing teamwork and their biological advantages and hitting Gon dozens of times without him hitting them once, his far superior aura and talent allows him to tank all the attacks with barely any damage and take out the officers in almost single attacks in retaliation. Now, while the physically strongest of the troop can vaporize large portions of the earth and can easily overpower super bazookas that can take out tanks without any effort at all, many of the other troop members are still kind of lacking. An example, Shalnark is one of the weakest members of the troop, ranking in at number 10 on the list, and during the Chimera Ant arc, he was stopped by two henchmen of Zazan, Pell and Boku. Shalnark actually struggles with Pell a bit, and Boku is more so a manipulator than a physical combative type, goes into Control Shalnark, in which he goes into his autopilot mode, also known as his last resort, to defeat them, which causes immense strain and fatigue to his body. This is extremely sad for a combat feat, as Pell, the Chimera Ant he can't even really damage without literally using Super Saiyan, is a Chimera Ant Peon. As a reminder, a Chimera Ant Peon level fighter such as Melioran is stated to be able to get one-shotted by a leader class Chimera Ant such as Zazan. This further reinforces the idea that Hisoka, one of the stronger members and someone listed stronger than Zazan in the data books, could one-shot Shalnark in his base state.
Yeah, makes sense.
Shalnark's autopilot mode only being able to show to defeat a peon in a non-combative
so that just shows that he's quite low.
And quickly wearing off and him running out of energy. This is also bad for Pakunoda and Kortopi, who are stated even weaker than he is. And while Kortopi has a good support ability, such as his ability to clone 50 large buildings, Pakunoda has no good combat feats other than manhandling Gon and Killua before they even properly learn Nen. With Killua even then being able to snap her arm and bash her teeth in, let alone a John Ken from Gon that can amp his strength by 10 times that could take out powerful hunters like Neptune.
Oh my god, so cool. I need to watch Hunter x
Hunter later on, such as his training with Bisky. Next, we can go over Nobunaga. We don't really know a whole lot about him other than his ability to instantly foderize and kill Gon and Killua pre-Greed Island if they were to fight. Killua also
they needed to run away, didn't
they? At one point to Hisoka to help Gon understand the tier of fighters they are. Although we don't really know how accurate that is, considering Machi got pretty destroyed by Hisoka. You could argue that she was perhaps off guard, as she is stated even more physically powerful than Chrollo, could even take lethal attacks from Killua that were destroying Pakunoda earlier. Nobunaga was also a teammate of Uvugen, and while Uvugen always destroys him when they fight, he was able to fight alongside him and to keep up allegedly when they worked together.
Yeah, so that gives him
Uvugen,
something.
The same guy who can catch bullets
with his teeth. Jesus Christ, so cool.
Lenov in his Chimera Ant fight couldn't pierce the shell of a nameless Chimera Ant officer with his spear, and had to resort to his Jupiter Nen ability, in which he claims that sound is too fast for his opponent to ever escape from. This Jupiter power must mean he's large, planet level, obviously, but no, in all seriousness, it does not seem to be all that impressive, especially if it is his strongest attack. It barely does anything to his surroundings and kills the nameless
it just
ant.
blows a
No
hole
real
in the
AP
place, doesn't it?
we
It's
know of
like,
besides that. If anything, Uvugen's normal punches, such as the Big Bang Punch, are actually probably stronger
more
than
effective
than
that, yeah.
Shizuku is in an even worse boat, as
Yeah.
she states she was forced on the defensive by Pike, and at one point states she might not even be able to beat him without taking damage first. Her ability also doesn't work on living beings and can only suck Pike's blood after she damaged him, which she struggled to do. I know I'm being a tad vague with how strong Chimera officers are, but I'll get into that later.
Right, okay.
Franklin is overall pretty featless, but he's
Well, when
stated
you
to be the 5th physically
put him in comparison to Meruem.
above Machi and Phaeton, but below Hisoka, Finks, and Uvagan. He fires Nen bullets similar to Chimera Ant Squadron Leader Bloster. Kaluto was able to defeat an officer named Small Beetle, but when watching Zazan in her base state versus Phaeton, she is overwhelmed and thinks she is far beneath him, and even questions her ability to rise in the ranks of the troop. Implying Phaeton would obliterate her without even using his net ability. Finks is implied to be the second physically strongest and tends to not have much trouble with the Chimera Ant officer he faces, implying he could have bodied him with half the effort. However, Finks still has to use his ability to defeat him, and can't simply just body the man with his raw base physical strength and aura. Phaeton is the only troop member that we saw to actually fight a squadron leader, and it's against Zazan. And despite being the 5th physically strongest, cannot actually damage Zazan at all once she transforms, and has to rely on his Pain Packer ability. This ability is stated to be able to vaporize Kaluto,
it's so
and
cool.
all the other troop members say it's dangerous to be around. I've seen some arguments saying this attack is as hot as the actual sun. However, in the manga, this is not actually stated, and the surrounding area is not at all that affected by his attack. Although it's implied Phaeton is rusty, and that the Pain Packer that defeated Zazan was on the weaker side because she couldn't damage him enough. So it having a set heat doesn't even make sense to begin with. It obviously changes its heat depending on the damage taken. But it is never stated, for as much as I know in the manga, to be as hot as the sun. Crollo and Hisoka are pretty evidently established, and while
they
it's
are
stated that
up
Crollo
there.
and Hisoka are physically weaker than characters like Finks, with Crollo being stated weaker than Phaeton, I find it somewhat hard to believe at times due to how high Crollo and Hisoka's physical and athletic ability
they can do a
and
lot.
scale above Zazan in the data books, as well as the fact that Crollo's combat feats with hand-to-hand should be way greater than Phaeton and Zazan's to begin with.
Well, look at the fight. Like I said, the fight with those Zoldyks.
Crollo and Hisoka never went all out in the arm wrestling matches or didn't use their Nen to amplify their strength when they did it, their strength and skill being stated above Zazan with rivaling Nen, or that Zazan with her Nen ability simply gets to a Hisoka level tier of physicality, like some Zarbon power.
Yeah, it does seem it like, doesn't it? Yeah.
That can amplify her power and durability beyond the physical abilities of Phaeton. Hisoka and Illumi are also used as gatekeepers by Killua, which he uses later on to try to scare other hunters such as Nethero, Moral, and Nav. Moral and Knuckle themselves rivaling Kite in physical strength, give or take. Kite being able to destroy platoons of officers with no difficulty with single attacks. You could also argue that Hisoka and Crollo can further amp their high Nen and athletic ability with their actual Nen powers, with Bungee Gum being stated to increase its power if it's stretched out far enough, and
power of
Crollo
Bungee
having an
and
entire
Gum.
dictionary of abilities in his disposal. Hisoka and Crollo, while near each other in actual power, favors Hisoka as slightly more powerful, and this
They
is
need
shown
to animate
pretty well
that
in their
fight, man.
actual fight if you pay attention, in which Hisoka hits Crollo one time and damages him pretty well. Crollo has to attack him numerous times for barely any damage in comparison. There's also debates if Crollo actually had help during the fight with Hisoka, as he had a very long time to prepare for the battle, and it's implied by Togashi that the reason Hisoka is killing the troop is because he learned the secret of what happened in the fight versus Crollo. The theory is that Shalnark, Machi, and Cortopi actually helped him in the background, which is why Crollo's use of Shalnark's ability was weird, such as calling with it like a phone instead of using it as a game device. How the cloning and control was far more in number than Hisoka, a genius by the way's prediction. Machi is also implied to have helped as Hisoka's bungee gum he was using as a safety line at the very end randomly disappeared, and all three of these people conveniently just appeared at the end after Hisoka lost just to see his dead body. Although this is only a theory, it still implies Hisoka is very powerful to the point that even Crollo states he was forced to prep extremely long and wouldn't just fight him right away, and used more abilities than he ever had versus anybody else, even trying harder than he did versus Zeno and Silva Zoldyck at the same time. The same Zeno and Silva who saw Shiapuv amped squadron leader Cheeto thought he was a waste of time and one-shotted him. These two still took damage versus a suppressed Crollo. This is another reason why I think the arm wrestling rankings probably don't include their Nen enhancements or weren't them absolutely going all out at all times, maybe to conserve their true powers or their status versus the other members, maybe not give away with their true capability, although Uvagan being number one and the other members compared to each other is still probably the case. Another reason I don't think Nen is involved is due to durability, which hunters and fighters in Hunter x Hunter amplify using Nen, or more specifically Ren, which enhances strength and durability, which may allow people like Crollo to reach those number 2 or number 3 spots over Finks and Phaeton, and the others if they have far superior Nen or Nen ability. thinks could also be insanely strong for all we know, but that's not really heavily implied by his fight in the arc. Illumi is someone Hisoka thinks he can take even if he makes enraged, and Illumi thinks he can kill Hisoka if he's enraged.
Yeah.
Hisoka also hires Illumi onto the Phantom Troupe because he thinks he's such a competent fighter and a decent
That's interesting, right? I need to catch up with the manga now.
9.5 on his weird power scaling scale, even higher than the Zodiac members nearby that he ranked 8 through 9, which they think they are stronger than Morel. We've seen what Morel can do. So it's safe to say that Illumi at least scales to Hisoka somewhat. Whether you think he's weaker or stronger, he hasn't shown all he can do yet. It's just safe to say he's relative. With the troop out of the way, we can finally get on to Meruem, and
here
for the
we
most part,
go.
we're discussing peon, officer, and leader class Chimera ants.
God.
And on the hierarchy, they're actually 2 stages higher than even that, and it's no exaggeration to say the difference between leaders and their officers is nothing compared to the
three royal guards, man, are so freaking intense, and they fear Meruem.
Literally start to go insane just from sensing their presence, and fears the royal ants more than death itself, and can even take down Kite, one of the strongest hunters on the planet, who could sweep entire platoons of officers and easily one-shot leader ants even with his weaker abilities. And not only does Neferpito actually take down Kite so easily, but it's also implied that Kite got some on the verge of death amp and still got absolutely demolished, only landing some scratches on Pito, if not just dirt or dry blood from Kite's following decapitation. And the gap is so extreme that Killua says that nobody's ever encountered would stand a remote chance against Neferpito, not even Hisoka or Illumi. He's also met most of the Phantom Troupe, including Frollo, as well as Zeno and Silva.
Well, of course.
Usually you'd say that Killua is simply exaggerating. However, Killua is literally programmed with a unique ability to read the true threat level of people he encounters. Even being able to tell that Rusty Netero possessed the Guanyin Bodhisattva while he was suppressed just by looking at him, and the needle in his head that forces him to retreat on a subconscious level if he senses someone beyond his power, that which is impossible.
Oh yeah, he's always like run away if you can't fight.
Pito, which is usually
that was something he had to fight against, wasn't it?
Togashi, as Togashi does the volume specials specifically for them, actually says that Pito is stronger than any adversary that Gon and Killua have met up to that point. Meaning any character in the series that Gon and Killua have met would get outboxed and destroyed by Pito, even in a fist fight.
Here we go.
Has not even developed its net ability yet. Once again, the databooks make a clear distinction between royals and everyone else in the series, whereas many of the strongest fighters in the world have 4 for their combat abilities. The royal ants and Chairman Netero pose 0 charge in training, have all 5s. This isn't even just their physical powers, but even their intelligence outclasses or rivals that of even Krollos, who's known for his insane planning, and this is no exaggeration, as Pito and Poof are such geniuses that they can master top-tier net abilities practically upon birth, and instantly know how most of it works and how to learn and
they are
manipulate it,
impressive,
something that takes most characters decades to do, let alone hours. Poof even goes so far as to be able to absolutely bully Morel intellectually and strategically despite only being weeks old and Morel being an insanely experienced
I suppose
hunter.
That's an interesting point,
Poof was also very manipulative and was able to actually speak over Gon without him really realizing what was happening while she was healing Komugi. Basically, while Hisoka, Frollo, Zeno, and Silva, and Illumi are all top-tier fighters, the Royals and Netero are pretty much the absolute pinnacle of what humans could ever achieve. Although it's implied Netero has a few advantages over the Royals outside of physical stats, such as his enhanced speed and experience, as well as having no lacking trait in combat, such as a lack of will or a minor fault in talent or intelligence. Even after Hisoka states he wants to fight Netero one day, Netero is completely disinterested and is only reinvigorated to fight and train once again after sensing Pito and getting told by Colt that the Royals could take him no problem. Hisoka doesn't even make him flinch in comparison, and in fact came off as boring even. And even after being extremely rusty, his power was still convincing enough to Nav and Moro that he was the pinnacle of all hunters in the world. And even Illumi said that for Gon to even take out the top soldier of the king who forced Netero, who around 50 years ago was the strongest Nen user on the planet, to use a rose bomb, he would have had to sacrifice all of his Nen or his life in the process. Not even the king, just the king's top soldier convinces Illumi of this because of how far Netero stands atop the food chain.
Like, those three
Another
are so
important detail is that
strong.
Netero is extremely proficient in reading people's abilities, which is consistent with his character since he's constantly searching for the perfect being of his dream to throw everything he has against. But even with this ability, he never once acknowledges Hisoka or Illumi as contenders for top 5 Nen users, or even acknowledges them at all for that matter. As I described with the level 4 and level 5 examples, This was important because Netero would actually be a level 5 enhancer, probably far superior to the likes of Uvogin, who Hisoka never really mentions as someone he truly wants to fight like Chrollo,
Yeah.
with punches so fast that he could execute them faster than Meruem could move. In the adult Gon vs. Neferpito fight, the dead body of Pito becomes amplified with post-mortem Nen and goes to attack Gon, with Godspeed Killua racing Pito, in which post-mortem Pito actually gets there first and chops Gon's arm off. Now, while Gon purposely let his arm get decapitated because he wanted to be like Kite, though, Killua was still using his Godspeed at maximum to the point that you could actually hear his footsteps for the first time in the series, yet couldn't outspeed this Pito despite being able to blitz.
And Pito is nowhere near Meruem.
To the point they can't even see him. And despite Pito having a space advantage, it's still pretty telling due to how fast Godspeed is actually shown to be. Godspeed, for those of you that don't know, is stated to surpass the limitations of the human body in terms of speed, and not even Hisoka or Illumi can do anything to catch him.
It's incredible that they can't keep up with it, yeah.
Yet post-mortem Pito is arguably somewhat relative
stronger,
to him.
yeah.
Gon then regains
Faster.
his composure and easily tags and obliterates this same Pito. Gon speaks and moves so fast as well that Killua barely has time to blink,
it's just
or
done.
he can't keep
It's
up,
done.
as the narrator states.
So
For
cool.
those that don't remember, Gon in his adult state is stated to be relative to the King.
To
So
Meruem,
the King being
yeah.
faster than Godspeed Killua, in Pito's own opinion, is highly probable, as well as the fact that Netero also more than likely surpassed human limitations with his decades of prayer for his Guanyin Bodhisattva. So you can kind of look at Netero like a far more skilled Uvogin that could also use most other types of Nen highly efficiently, probably better than pretty much anyone else, that can also outbox Godspeed Killua at the same time with an IQ heavily surpassing
Big brain
Chrollo.
Netero.
Then you have Meruem, who the narrator states considers Netero the equivalent of an angry child throwing a tantrum, and who Meruem can counter using only a flicker of his true powers. However, this isn't all. Meruem also has a godlike intellect in the verse, just like the other ants, and despite only being weeks old, outdoes some of the brightest minds on the planet at some of the most challenging strategy games in the world.
Well, yeah, that was the
and
whole
even
thing, wasn't
becomes the best Go player in the world in only 10 games. It's to the point that Netero, who Zeno states is unpredictable intellectually, the same Netero who can read moral with almost social precognition, gets hit by almost a future sight level of strategy from Meruem to see through his almost flawless
Oh my god, it was
movements
amazing.
after trading thousands of blows, and rips his limbs off with a single attack.
His arm and his leg,
a
man.
feat that hasn't been replicated by anybody else in the series. If Uvogin is the strongest physically of the Phantom Troupe and Netero is simply a far superior enhancer to Uvogin, alongside higher speed and intellect, then the Phantom Troupe may have nobody that can even withstand a single attack from Meruem and even survive, even in his base state. Of course, this is supported. The databooks have Meruem stats not even at level 5 like the Royals, but beyond the chart
Off
entirely.
the charts,
He can
man.
one-shot leader class ants that even give Phaeton difficulty,
Boom, just
and
dead,
can tank his
gone,
attacks,
doesn't even
and
try.
can easily dominate even possibly the strongest, fastest, and most intelligent Nen user we know of on the planet, while not even trying to kill him, and take little to no damage from him even after thousands of attacks. Even the Zero Hand, an attack Netero charges for insane amounts of time, and he pours all of his level 5 Nen and Resolve into, only scratches Meruem, and he just says, oh, that was okay, I guess, and it doesn't actually damage
Okay,
him.
let's fight now.
Of course, you don't even need to get started on Rose Meruem, who's even stronger and has Yuppie's Rage Cannon that can vaporize massive cliff sides with more energy than needed to destroy a small city, and that's stated to travel at the speed of light, and having to require an entire state's military to possibly quell just by himself. Rose Meruem is not up for debate at all. I can't even think of any argument whatsoever that Meruem in base is up for debate either, and I think Netero being an enhancer makes this even more concrete. This is all especially true for the lesser members, obviously, who are rivaling leader ants and officers, and that no ant, Gon and Killua included, thinks anybody can hurt the guard or Meruem, and that they're absolute monsters compared to the rest. The only real argument I see for the troop winning is actually via poison, more specifically Chrollo's Ben's knife.
Right.
I'm going to assume Chrollo doesn't have anything Meruem level in his banded secret book until we see it, because obviously he had to do this insane plan just to take out Hisoka, let alone Meruem. It doesn't have any crazy stats we don't understand, due to being tagged by Zeno in their battle, who stated Netero's far inferior. Now, while a Ben's knife wouldn't work on Silva, who is a Zoldyck with years of poison training, Meruem has no stated resistance to toxins,
Yeah,
so if they
we
could land
learned
a
that.
blow with the knife, they might be able to paralyze him and win. Now, this is really only if Meruem is super relaxed and not just trying to kill all the troop and get it over with, which has never been granted with anybody but Netero, who he respected for his insane ability. But let's say he is more relaxed and just wants to see what the troop can do. Maybe the Phantom Troupe bomb rushes Meruem while Chrollo activates his weird teleport, quote-unquote, like ability he used on Nobunaga earlier in the series, and then catches Meruem by surprise and stabs him with a knife when his aura is focused towards his front, and then paralyze him and win somehow. This sounds like a great plan and all, however, we've already seen Meruem get hit while completely off guard by the Guanyin Bodhisattva
Yeah, and he's still
numerous
alright.
times, and it didn't do any damage to him either. Netero's Guanyin is far superior to Chrollo, probably holding a Ben's knife, which is
come on.
ability. Even Phaeton's Pain Packer ability is extremely unlikely to do anything, and it's questionable as well. Why I say it's questionable, say there are two Phaetons, and Pito chopped the arm off of one, and Meruem chopped the arm off of the other, and then they both activated Pain Packer. Would both Pain Packers be the same exact strength because he received the same amount of damage? Does the power of it scale to the power of the opponent? It seems more like the first option. If that's no idea how strong it would become, even if Meruem for some reason decided to chop all of Phaeton's arms and legs off instead of his head, which he easily bliss him and do.
Yeah, it could
Pain
smack.
Packer, even from a de-limbed and beat-up Phaeton, could even seriously damage Neferpito at this point, who Illumi stated you'd probably have to sacrifice everything you have to defeat, and Nav thought the Royals had an inconceivable level of power. It just doesn't seem very promising for him, and remember, Kite also had a on the verge of death ability that Pito absolutely obliterated even before he mastered Nen. But maybe if he was put near death, that prerequisite Illumi said would be met, and he might be able to take out Pito. But remember that even with this prerequisite, that Gon was put on a level of base Meruem, and probably couldn't even defeat him in a fight due to the intelligence gap at the very end, let alone an ability just from getting beat up. I think I've said most of what I've had to say. Hisoka and Illumi think that even Killua and his friends are an issue, that they couldn't even take them when Yuppie casually stomped all of them at the same time while not even having mastery over his own abilities.
Yeah, he was learning as he was going.
Would ever even be able to damage or use a single hacks on Meruem that would be effective without putting a controller up Meruem's ass and making him stand around. And even then, it's heavily debatable. The Phantom Troupe more so struggles with just officer to leader class ants. Royals are definitely more in the question for the entire troop to face than someone like Meruem, someone who Zeno can't do anything but be forced to fear and respect, not say that he's a rival to. All in all, I think Pito or Yuppie versus the Phantom Troupe would make more sense, although I would not be surprised if they actually won as well, especially post-mortem Pito, who blitzes all of them and is stated to be able to take out every hunter who raided the estate outside of Netero at the same time, or Yuppie with his aura that's over 10 times moral, a level 4 Nen user, and his ability to span his rage cannon surpasses anything Uvugen ever did, and he's also stated to be more than 10 times stronger than Godspeed, Killua, Morel, Knuckle, and Shoot, will not even be able to use his Nen abilities, hunters that are all stated to be rivaling Kite. The fact Yuppie might have more aura than the entire troop combined and be over 10 times stronger than pretty much all of them should make it pretty obvious all in all that Meruem is not on the plate here. Meruem is beyond the normal cast of human characters, and that's kind of the point. But as I said at the beginning of the video, I just wanted to do this to explain that yes, there is power scaling in Hunter x Hunter. It is not just raw strategy all the time or anything.
Yeah,
it's
that's
more
decent.
like strategy, resolve, and power, if that makes sense. So hopefully no more Hisoka versus Meruem request. I think I made that pretty clear.
That's not good.
Other than that, guys, I am curious, do you think Pito or Yuppie could take on the Phantom Troupe? If not, what about all the Royal Guards at the same time? And other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed, and till next time.
That was cool. So I was right. Yay! He didn't use my scaling method, but... boop, boop, boop. But I'm not a scaler. That was cool. I like seeing Hunter x Hunter stuff. I hope he does more. Really interesting. But yeah, they don't stand a chance against Meruem, man. He's just an absolute beast. That was something else. That was cool. That was nice. I like having a nice little reminder of Hunter x Hunter. I missed watching Hunter x Hunter. I enjoyed reading the manga volume after it, but I think they mentioned something in there that I've not seen, so it must be another chapter out that I've not, or maybe like yeah, some chapters that I've not read. Anyway, excuse me. Thank you guys very much for watching. What did you guys think of that? What did you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe, and leave comments down below. Let me know what you're watching, discussing future videos. I'll see you guys. As always, guys, when you're down.